The sterile scent of antiseptic hung in the air as Dr. Anderson entered the hospital room, clipboard in hand. He had just finished a long shift in the emergency department, and now he was here for his routine checkup of Vicki Noratuk, a patient who had recently returned from the brink of death. As he approached her bedside, the nurse had briefed him on her miraculous recovery, but he had no idea what awaited him. "Good morning, Vicki," he said, his voice friendly yet professional. "How are you feeling today?" Vicki looked up at him, her face illuminated with an enigmatic smile. "I'm doing better, thank you," she replied. But there was something in her gaze that seemed to pierce through the layers of his clinical demeanor, a depth that hinted at experiences beyond comprehension. "Great to hear," he said, flipping through the notes on his clipboard, unaware that he was about to hear a story that would shake the very foundation of his beliefs. Vicki took a deep breath, her heart racing with both excitement and trepidation. "Dr. Anderson, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice steady but charged with an electric energy. "I saw everything that happened while you were trying to save me." Dr. Anderson chuckled lightly, thinking she was referring to her recollection of the chaotic atmosphere of the ER. "Well, I'm sure it was quite a scene," he replied, a hint of amusement in his tone. But Vicki leaned closer, her expression transforming into one of unwavering sincerity. "No, I mean everything. I saw you drop your pen. It fell behind the equipment when you were resuscitating me. It was right there, just out of reach." The room fell silent, the only sound being the faint hum of medical machines. Dr. Anderson's heart began to race, goosebumps creeping up his arms. "How could you know that?" he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Vicki's eyes sparkled with a mixture of warmth and mystery. "I know you think I'm blind," she replied slowly, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. "But while I was, well, not really here, I was able to see everything around me." Dr. Anderson's mind reeled. He had seen many things in his career, miracles, tragedies, moments of profound connection, but this was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The mere thought of a blind woman recounting details he had assumed were invisible sent a chill down his spine. It was as if the laws of reality had shifted, unraveling the very fabric of what he understood about life and consciousness. Vicki continued, recounting her experience of floating above her body, surrounded by an intense light and an overwhelming sense of love. She described her life review, the faces of loved ones who had passed, and how she felt an intrinsic connection to everything around her. As she spoke, the doctor could feel the atmosphere in the room thickening with an unspoken truth, a validation of the extraordinary. "But how?" Dr. Anderson finally managed to ask, his skepticism battling against the undeniable power of her story. Vicki smiled softly and declared triumphantly, "Because I have been blind since birth. Yet, in that moment, I saw it all." The revelation hung in the air like a palpable force, transforming their encounter from a simple checkup into an exploration of the very essence of existence. The doctor left the room with goosebumps still coursing through him.
Vicki Noratuk from Seattle in the USA has been blind since birth. In January 1973, she was terribly injured in a car crash.
I had a skull fracture, concussion, neck injury, back injury, leg injury, and I was dead for 4 minutes.
Vicki's heart had stopped. Was she clinically dead, or just in a deep coma?
My back was up against the ceiling, and then I was looking down at everything. The one doctor said, well, it's a pity now that she could be deaf as well as blind because there's blood on her left eardrum. And then the female doctor said, well, we don't even know if she's going to survive this coma, and if she does, she could be in a permanent vegetative state, and that made me mad.
As she fought for her life, something even more extraordinary happened. Vicki could see for the very first time.
I felt like it was a nightmare because I have never been accustomed to perceiving of anything from a distance. and I touch things. My world is at arm's length. I perceive of everything tactily, and I couldn't translate what it was that I was receiving. And it was scary to be able to, a lot of people have asked me, well, wasn't it wonderful to see? Actually, no, it wasn't. It was terrible initially. I saw this ring on my left ring finger, and I thought, okay, that is me. And I also realized I had very long hair then down to my waist, and I realized that they'd shaved off quite a lot of it, and I was pretty upset about that.
How could Vicki's blind eyes see?
I mainly dream even with taste, touch, sound, and smell, but in my dreams there is no light, no color, and there are no visual impressions.
Vicki's experience interests scientists. She works with a psychologist from New York University specializing in the near-death experiences of the blind, Sharon Cooper.
If you compared her case with many sighted near-death experiencers, you would not find differences. The only difference that I was able to discern between her case and a sighted person is her description of color. She called it different brightnesses of light, and that's because she had no way to understand what color was. She did notice differences in the environment during her experience. She just didn't know what to call them.
Vicki Umipeg survived and returned to her world of darkness. She still has no doubt that for just a few minutes, she was able to see.
I do know that there are many people who are going to be skeptical and who don't understand and who don't believe what I say, but I know what I experienced, I know what I saw, I know what I heard, I know what I felt. And so I just leave it at that.